Hello, today I'll be describing the in-class activity for July 3rd. We're going to have the video game project reveal, so it should be pretty basic, but what I want you to work through as a team is just listening to me walk through the assignment itself. If you need to note any questions or clarifications that need to happen, definitely email those to me so we can get those clarifications out there. But also, I want to have this be the jumping off point for your team to start looking at what it is you're going to do, what skill sets you as a group already have, and where you need to go with that. So also note that the assignment itself, so we're gonna walk through that, and then you'll come back here and you'll reply to this discussion with, again, the team name, student names, the selfie, and then the only question you need to answer today is what ideas you have for the assignment and any concerns, anything else you want to include as part of that discussion that you're going to have today. So one thing to notice is that the assignment is due on July 22nd, so you have a little bit more time for this. It's a bit more challenging. So the fact that it's further out should not mean that means you can wait longer. If anything, you should start this one even earlier than any of the other games because there's more of a learning curve and you may hit a couple of dead ends and have to figure out a different way to get your project done, depending on you know how well you look through the tutorials and the other resources I've given in this module, and then just also how adept you are and how much you think in this terms of a programmer. So as a team, though, I expect most of the groups to have roughly the same skill set as a team, knowing that there's going to be some teams that this will be a little bit easier with because you have game design students or programmers. What I really want to stress, though, is for those teams that have someone where this is their specialty, I don't want that person to be doing the vast majority of the work. Certainly they can help the team through the hard spots, but I do want to make sure that everyone in the team is contributing as equally as possible, maybe in different areas, but I don't want this to fall on one person. It's frustrating for them, even if it's what they're very good at, but more importantly, the other people in the team aren't going to get this experience, and it's a very valuable experience. Whether you're into video game design or not, it's a valuable experience in terms of learning something that's very new and has some technical attributes to it, as well as some creative attributes. So work through that together. Make sure that you start divvying up the work equally. Certainly play to your strengths if you'd like, but make sure that you are working it as a team. So first off, you have some resources in this module, in the game design module, and in this module, we'll be focusing on the game, and we'll bring a new thinking strategy into the light that we'll be working on over the next couple of lectures called lateral thinking. And so I'll get more into that later. But as far as the assignment itself that you'll be delivering on July 22nd, if you're new to game design and you're not sure where to start, and I certainly came from that perspective where I didn't know much about it, I found software called Fusion 2.5, and they had some built-in tutorials that I thought were a very, very excellent way of kind of guided practice and quick feedback in order to really understand not only how the software works, but how game design works. So even if you end up using something else, these tutorials were excellent. I think the NanoWar tutorial, they've taken it away and brought it back a few times. So even if you're just taking one of these and running through it, it's very, very helpful. Now, if you are very advanced at game design, this might seem pretty elementary to you, so you don't have to do it, but if anyone comes to me at the end and they say, hey, we couldn't get it done, we weren't sure what to do, and you haven't gone through all the tutorials, then um, that's going to be a problem. So hopefully that won't happen. So for this project, the source material for your game should be not only your video game trailer or teaser that we finished up in the digital video module, but also the story itself. So you put all that effort into the 1 to 2 page story. You took a chunk of that to make your trailer, but now you're going to come back as the source material and read through the story, consider the trailer that you made, and then what you're going to do is translate this into a simple video game. So you're not going to try and encompass the entire story as the video game. You're not going to create an entire video game. Essentially, what we're going to create is a sample of the video game. So if it's, say, Mario Brothers, for example, we're going to create a single sample level for the project. So I want it to be fairly simple for you to do, where it's not an overwhelming task, but at the same time, I want you to have practiced going from start to finish on what it is to make a video game. So assuming that you have already read through all the resources for this module where you've gone through the tutorials, you've gone through the other links that give you different guidance on game design and level design and all these different things to consider, in about 1 page, I want you to describe the following. So think about what type of game it would be, and hopefully if you don't know them already, these should be familiar after you've done the reading. What type of backgrounds, characters, enemy art are you going to need? Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to look through some royalty-free sites? Then, the biggest item, what is the objective of the game? What problem does your main character need to solve? And what obstacles are in the way of meeting that objective, as there should be obstacles in any game? What metrics are you bound by? So are we looking at player movement, speed, the size of the player, enemies, jumping, any sort of collisions, interactions? And you'll find that with the software, even doing very basic tweaks in how things collide and interact can make a big change in how the game is played. So there should be hopefully some experimentation there to where you can see and make something a lot more unique than you expected. And then what does the game's macro design require from this level? So there's a link in there about a really good lecture on macro design for game design. And then you're going to use lateral thinking. So we're going to go into the 3 key concepts that I'd like us to focus on for lateral thinking. So we'll get into that in the next week or so. What sort of creative twist are you going to put in there to make it more novel, more playable, more enjoyable? And then as we've done with the DV assignment, I want you to include the YouTube link for the game level demonstration. So I want you to create that demonstration, and for that, really, I'm going to leave it open to you. I don't think it says exactly how long it needs to be, but most demos are between probably 1 and 3 minutes. And so, so I want that to be your key deliverables at YouTube link. But unlike the DV assignment where the only submission was that YouTube link, what you'll need to be turn in for this after you create the game, what you'll need to actually turn in is the written portion, so the approximately 1 page of what ideas you have for the game, and then at the top of that, you're going to include the YouTube link where you demo the actual finished game itself. So one thing to point out, because this is a problem sometimes, do not submit the actual game file or zip file or set of files. I just want the 1 page description of how you came up with your ideas, and then the end result, which is that YouTube link that you'll create demoing the game. Now in terms of demoing the game, I'd rather you use um, uh, some sort of screen capture software where you can talk through it. I'm actually using one called OBS right now to record this. It's free and it's very easy to use, except that it keeps shoving my screen to the top over and over again. So hopefully that won't do that to you. But that's a great way to do it. If you have to, you can have a camera phone or something filming your computer screen. It really takes down the quality and isn't nearly as fun to watch. So I'd really rather not that since there are so many free options available. So if anything, check out, just type in OBS screen recording in Google and it'll take you right through it. So again, don't submit the actual game file. However, a number of teams, especially those who feel especially proud of what they've created, often want to give me the file so I can play it, and I absolutely love that. It's not required, but I've got a growing collection of games that student teams have created, and it's pretty amazing to see given that this isn't a game design class. And so if you do want to do that, I'd encourage you to put it on a thumb drive and bring it to class, and I should have a thumb drive with me so I can save it onto mine, and then I will put it into the growing collection of games that students like you have made. So, so let's get into creating the game itself. So this is the big chunk right here, chunk number 2. So you can be as elaborate as you'd like, but I think most games that succeed, meaning that they get done on time, they start with the basics, and then if you want to add stuff later, but making sure that everything is complete is the first and foremost key to getting this done. So the game has to be playable, so you have to demonstrate that you're actually playing it. It has a clear start and a clear end determined by the player meeting some sort of objective. There should be some sort of background art, again, something that you've done or that you've gotten royalty free. There should be at least 10 either structures or obstacles or enemies, depending on what kind of game you're creating. There are certain genres of games where that doesn't apply as much, so if that's the case, that's okay. Just explain why on here, why you might not have those. If it's a card style game, something like that. But you probably should have those, something like that in every kind of game. The character itself should have at least 2 frames of animation, meaning it's not just a picture that's doing stuff. And usually that animation happens when there's some action in the game, either the player's moving, or if they get hit, or something happens. The character itself will have at least a few different types of animation that happen. At least one item in the game must be your artwork, so you can use royalty-free stuff, but something should be yours, either the background or the structures, the animated character. And the game level itself must clearly tie into the trailer, but really the story from the digital video module. The game level must take at least 30 seconds to complete, so it can't be really, really short and you got it done. And that doesn't mean you just sit there and then after 30 seconds you get to the exit, which is right next to you. It should take 30 seconds for an average person to be able to complete it. You have to know if you've succeeded or failed. So in your demo, you should show what it takes to finish the level and have some sort of indication that you have finished the level, but you should also show that you can fail the level and show what happens then. Either you get hit and you die, or you don't accomplish the goal in time, whatever game design structure you're going to have. It should include at least 5 different sound effects for 5 different events, so things like collisions, jumps, collecting objects, etc. And one thing to note here is you may run into, depending on the software you use. So we have Fusion 2.5 is a free software. We have more advanced software in the Commons that's free for you to use. However, I understand that it's also more advanced. So if your group is not familiar with that and you decide to use something like Fusion 2.5, if it runs into limits as far as how many things can be on the screen at once or how many things you can import, if you run into those and you can't meet all of these restrictions, then do the best you can and then just show me either through screenshot or something else that you've reached the max, and that will allow you not to have to do all that. Now you should have at least one of all of these items, and really you should be able to accomplish most, if not all, of these restrictions, even on Fusion. Can't, don't freak out and think that you can't get it done because you have the free version. Just include that as part of your submission. And then the game level demo, again, I want you to demonstrate it via YouTube video showing that gameplay. I want to be able to see a voiceover or listen to a voiceover that describes the various elements. So I want, as you're playing the game, I want you to put together all of these different items and show me where those are at. And then once you're done, you'll submit it, and then sometime after the submission, like we're going to do for the digital video, we'll watch the demos, the class will, and the winner will receive something amazing like extra credit or something equally fun. So again, turn in the written portion of the assignment from that section 1, and at the top have the YouTube link for the demo of your game. So that's the assignment. So again, what you need to do then for today, now that you understand what the assignment is, and you're hopefully starting to go through the tutorials and all the readings that I have under that module, I want you to start brainstorming and looking at what sort of ideas, what sort of plan you're going to have. Think about things like software, the skill sets your team has, how you might break out some of the work, and just kind of put that open discussion below here as your submission for today's class. All right, thanks. We'll be getting into lateral thinking in the next few lectures, so I'm looking forward to that.